The stars looked beautiful through the viewport, Jiho thought as he finished repairing the cooling system in Corridor 12. He wiped his hands on his uniform and smiled. This was why he had joined the Coalition service 3 years ago. Not for glory or adventure, but to see the galaxy. To visit places his parents back on Earth could only dream about. The medical supply ship times Horizon's Promise Times was not a glamorous posting. It was old, slow, and carried a crew of only 42 people. But Jiho liked it that way. No weapons, no wars. Just delivering medicine and food to planets that needed help. Today, they were heading to Varan Prime, where a plague had killed thousands. The cargo hold was full of vaccines and antibiotics. Jiho was walking back to the engine room when the alarm started screaming. Red lights flashed throughout the corridor. The ship lurched violently to the side, throwing him against the wall. He grabbed a support rail and pulled himself up. His communicator crackled with panicked voices. Unknown vessels approaching. They're not responding to hails. 6 ships, no. This is Captain Taiwan to all hands. Jiho's heart pounded. Battle stations? They didn't have battle stations. This was a medical ship. They had no weapons, no shields worth mentioning. He ran toward the bridge, but another explosion rocked the vessel. The lights went out. Emergency power kicked in, bathing everything in dim red light. Through a viewport, Jiho saw them. Massive warships painted dark red and black. Their hulls were covered in scars and symbols he didn't recognize. One ship was 3 times the size of the times Horizon's Promise asterisk. Its weapons glowed with charging energy. This is Captain Taiwan of the Coalition vessel times Horizon's Promise asterisk. We are a medical ship on a humanitarian mission. We are unarmed and pose no threat. Please respond. Third. The only answer was weapons fire. The ship shook again. Jiho heard metal tearing somewhere below. People were screaming. He tried to reach the bridge, but a sealed bulkhead blocked his way. The ship's computer had locked down sections to prevent decompression. All crew, this is the captain. They're boarding us. Seal yourself in any room you can find. Send out distress signals. Tell the Coalition what happened here. Jiho ran. His training told him to find a secure room and lock it. But his instincts drove him toward the escape pod bay. Maybe he could launch one. Maybe he could survive. The escape pod bay was a disaster. 2 pods had already launched. 3 more were damaged beyond use. The last pod was functional, but its door was jammed half open. Jiho crawled inside and tried to close it, but the mechanism was broken. He could hide here, but he couldn't launch. He heard them before he saw them. Heavy footsteps, voices speaking in languages he didn't understand. Then he heard sounds that made his blood freeze. Weapons firing. People begging. People dying. Jiho pressed himself into the corner of the damaged pod and tried not to breathe. Through the gap in the door, he watched them enter the bay. They were tall, at least 7 feet, with scaled skin that shimmered like oil in water. 4 arms. Eyes that glowed faintly in the darkness. They wore armor that looked grown rather than built, all curves and organic shapes. Valkoran. He had read about them in school, a warrior species from the Sirius sector. They had fought the Coalition 40 years ago and lost. Most of them were dead or scattered across the galaxy now. These Valkoran moved with military precision. They swept the bay, checking bodies, collecting equipment. Jiho held perfectly still. If they found him, he was dead. Then she entered the bay. Jiho knew immediately that she was in charge. The other, Valkoran, moved aside for her. She was taller than them, her scales a deeper shade of purple-black. She wore no helmet. And her face was sharp and proud. 4 arms, like the others, but she moved differently, like a predator, like death itself. She walked across the bay and stopped at a viewport. For a moment, She just stood there, looking out at the stars. Then she spoke. "Bring me the captain." Her voice was deep and clear. She spoke perfect coalition standard, the common language everyone used. Two of her warriors dragged Captain Taiwan into the bay. He was bleeding from a cut on his head, but he stood as straight as he could. "I am Captain Taiwan, of the Coalition Ship Times Horizons Promise *. Under the Galactic Convention, I demand." She shot him. One casual movement with a weapon in her lower right hand. The captain fell and didn't move. "I don't care about your conventions," she said calmly. She looked at her warriors. "Take everything useful. Food, fuel, medicine. Leave nothing." Jiho couldn't breathe. He had just watched her kill Captain Taiwan, like it meant nothing. Like swatting an insect. His hands were shaking. Every part of him screamed to stay hidden, to stay quiet, to survive. But he thought about the vaccines in the cargo hold. Medicine for thousands of sick people on Varan Prime. Children who would die without it. He thought about Captain Taiwan, who had always been kind to him, who had encouraged him to join the crew, who was now dead on the floor. Jiho stood up. He didn't think about it. If he had thought about it, he would have stayed hidden. He pushed open the broken pod door and stepped out. Why? Every Valkoran in the bay turned to stare at him. Weapons came up, aimed at his chest. The woman held up one hand, and they waited. She looked at Jiho like he was the most interesting thing she had seen in years. "Why?" she repeated. "You need to be more specific, human." Jiho's voice shook, but he kept talking. "Why are you doing this? We're a medical ship. Those supplies are for people who are dying. Innocent people. Children. Innocent," she said, tasting the word. "There are no innocent people in the coalition. Only those who haven't paid for their crimes yet." "What crimes? What did we do to you?" "What?" She moved closer. Up close, she was terrifying. Her eyes were yellow with vertical pupils. Her scales had old scars, dozens of them. She smelled like metal, and something sharp he couldn't identify. "Your coalition killed my entire world," she said quietly. "Every man, woman, and child on Valkora Prime. 40 years ago. They called it a necessary military action." She tilted her head. "So I take everything from them. Slowly. Ship by ship. World by world. I'm sorry," Jiho said. He meant it. "I'm sorry that happened. But killing us won't bring them back." She laughed. It was not a happy sound. "You're either very brave or very stupid, human." "Which is it?" "Probably stupid," Jiho admitted. She studied him for a long moment. Then she made a decision. "Bring him. He interests me." Two warriors grabbed Jiho's arms. He didn't fight. There was no point. As they dragged him toward the airlock, he looked back at the bay. At Captain Taiwan's body. At his ship. Broken and dying. The woman followed his gaze. "My name is Hana," she said. "Remember it. Everyone in the galaxy does." Jiho already knew her name. Everyone knew her name. Hana, the Reaper of Sirius, the most feared pirate in known space. And now, he was her prisoner. The cell was small, but clean. Jiho sat on the metal bench that served as a bed and tried to make sense of his situation. He was alive. That was something. Most of his crewmates weren't. The Times, Crimson Talon Times, was nothing like coalition ships. Everything was built for function, not comfort. The walls were a dark red metal that seemed to absorb light. The air smelled different, full of scents he couldn't identify. Through the small window in his cell door, he could see Valkoran warriors walking past. Some were his guards. Others ignored him completely. 3 days passed. They gave him food and water. Nobody spoke to him. He tried to talk to the guards, but they just stared at him with their yellow eyes and said nothing. On the 4th day, Hana came to see him. She stood outside his cell, all 4 arms crossed. She looked exactly as dangerous as the first time he saw her. Behind her stood a massive Valkoran warrior with a scarred face and cold eyes. He watched Jiho like a hunter watching prey. "You're not afraid," Hana said. It wasn't a question. "I'm terrified," Jiho answered honestly. "But being afraid won't change anything." She made a sound that might have been amusement. "Your crew begged. Your captain tried to negotiate. You just asked me why. That's unusual. Does that mean you'll let me go?" "No. It means I haven't decided to kill you yet." The scarred warrior spoke. His voice was deep and rough. "Commander, we should dispose of him. Keeping a coalition prisoner is dangerous. He could be a spy. He could sabotage the ship." "Dae-hyun worries too much," Hana said. "Look at him. He's an engineer, not a soldier. He can barely grow a proper beard." Jiho touched his face self-consciously. She wasn't wrong. Hana opened the cell door and entered. Dae-hyun moved to follow, but she waved him back. "Wait outside. If this small human kills me, you can tell everyone how foolish I was." They were alone. Hana sat on the bench across from him. Up close, without her weapons and armor making her look bigger, she was still terrifying. But Jiho noticed other things too. The way her shoulders were always tense. The way her eyes never stopped moving, always watching for threats. The old scars on her scales that told stories of violence. "Tell me about your homeworld," she said. "Earth?" Jiho wasn't sure why she cared. But he talked anyway. He told her about the outer colonies where he grew up, about the farms under biodomes, about his family, his parents who worked in hydroponics, his younger sister who wanted to be a doctor. Hana listened without interrupting. When he finished, she was quiet for a long time. "You left them," she finally said. "Why?" "I wanted to see the galaxy. I wanted to help people. I thought." He laughed bitterly. "I thought the coalition was making the universe better. I thought we were the good guys." "There are no good guys," Hana said. "Only people who lie about what they do, and people who admit it. What about you? You had a homeworld once. A family. What were they like?" Her expression turned cold. For a moment, Jiho thought she would hit him. Instead, she stood and walked to the door. "That's enough questions for today, human." She left. But she came back the next day. And the day after that, their conversations became routine. Hana would ask him about Earth, about human culture, about his life. Sometimes she talked about her ship and her crew. Never about her past. Never about Valkora Prime. On the 8th day, everything changed. Alarms rang through the ship. The lights flickered and died. Emergency power kicked in, but Jiho could hear the engines making horrible grinding sounds. The ship shuddered and dropped out of hyperspace. Dae-hyun appeared at his cell, looking worried. They brought him to the engine room. It was chaos. Smoke filled the air. Valkoran engineers worked frantically on a massive piece of machinery that was shooting sparks and making noises that hurt to hear. Hana stood in the center of it all, shouting orders. When she saw Jiho, she pointed at the machine. "The hyperdrive. Can you fix it?" Jiho looked at the damage. His heart sank. The hyperdrive core was a human design, sold to dozens of species across the galaxy. But this one was old and heavily modified. Half the parts were things he'd never seen before. "I don't know," he said honestly. "Maybe. I'd need tools. Time. And I'd need to know what you did to it." "We modified it for higher output," one of the Valkoran engineers said. His name was Taemin, and he looked exhausted. "It worked for years. Now it's dying, and we can't figure out why." Jiho studied the problem. Without the hyperdrive, the fleet couldn't jump to faster than light speed. They were stuck here. Wherever here was. Vulnerable. "I'll need better lighting," Jiho said. "And someone to help me. Also, I need to move around the ship freely. I can't work from inside a cell." Hana considered this. Dae-hun immediately protested. Commander, no. This could be a trick. He could sabotage us further. If he sabotages us, we're dead anyway, Hana said. And if he doesn't fix this, we're also dead. The Coalition patrol routes cover this sector. She looked at Jiho. Fix my ship, human. Prove you're worth keeping alive. They gave him everything he asked for. For the next 36 hours, Jiho worked without stopping. The problem was complex. The Valkoran had pushed the hyperdrive far beyond its design limits. Components were burning out. The cooling system was failing. The quantum field generator was misaligned. Taemin helped him, along with 2 other Valkoran engineers named Hiji and Minho. They were suspicious at first. But as Jiho worked, they began to respect his knowledge. He showed them things about human engineering they hadn't understood. They taught him about Valkoran technology in return. When Jiho finally got the hyperdrive running again, Taemin actually smiled at him. Heiji clapped him on the shoulder with one of her 4 hands, nearly knocking him over. You actually did it, she said, surprised. I didn't think it was possible. Hana came to inspect the work. She tested the hyperdrive, and it hummed perfectly. She turned to Jiho. Good. You're more useful than I thought. Does this mean I can have better quarters? My cell smells like disinfectant and sadness. To everyone's shock, Hana laughed. It was brief, but genuine. Give him a crew cabin. Let him eat in the mess hall. He's earned it. Dae-hun looked furious, but he said nothing. That night, Jiho ate dinner in the crew mess hall. It was awkward. 24 species filled the room, all of them pirates and raiders. They stared at him, some with curiosity, some with hostility. He sat at an empty table and tried to eat quietly. The food was strange, but not bad. Then someone sat across from him. It was Hana. The entire mess hall went silent. The commander never ate with the crew. She always took her meals alone in her quarters. Tell me more about Earth, she said, as if this was normal. You mentioned oceans. I've never seen an ocean, so Jiho told her. He described beaches and waves. He talked about swimming as a child. About the first time he saw a whale. Hana listened to every word. And when Jiho looked around the mess hall, he saw something interesting. The crew was watching their commander, with expressions he recognized. They weren't just following her out of fear. They respected her, maybe even cared about her. And Hana, the feared reaper of Sirius, was sitting here asking a human prisoner about oceans. Maybe, Jiho thought, there was more to this story than he understood. Maybe the monster everyone feared was more complicated than the legends said. That night, for the first time since his capture, Jiho felt something unexpected: hope. Jiho had been aboard the Times Crimson Talon Times for 3 weeks when they attacked Kef Station. He watched from the bridge. Because Hana had given him permission to be there, she said he might as well understand what they did. This is a coalition supply depot, Hana explained as her ship surrounded the station. Military only. No civilians. They store weapons here. Ammunition. Ship parts. The battle was fast and brutal. Hana's ships moved like a pack of hunters. They hit the station's defenses hard, overwhelming them in minutes. Then, the boarding parties launched. Jiho expected them to take everything, to destroy what they couldn't carry. But he noticed something strange. Why are they only hitting the military sections? He asked. Hana didn't look at him. Because that's where the supplies are. But the residential section has supplies too. Food, medicine. You could take that. We don't need it. That wasn't an answer. And Jiho knew it. He watched as her crews methodically looted the military warehouses, but completely ignored the rest of the station. When a fire broke out near the residential section, Hana ordered her people to put it out before withdrawing. Later, in the mess hall, Jiho confronted her. You avoid killing civilians when you can. Hana was eating alone, as usual. She didn't invite him to sit. But she didn't stop him either. I don't avoid it. I just don't waste ammunition. That's not true. At Kef Station, You had your people put out that fire. You could have let it spread. Killed hundreds. But you didn't. The fire would have destroyed supplies we wanted. The fire was nowhere near the warehouses you were looting. Hana set down her food. Her yellow eyes fixed on him with an intensity that made his heart race. What's your point, human? My point is that you're not the monster you pretend to be. You claim you want revenge on the coalition. You say there are no innocent people, but you spare them when you can. I spare no one, Hana said coldly. Your captain is dead. Remember? Your crew is dead. I showed them no mercy. You showed me mercy. You're showing it to me right now. Hana stood abruptly. Several crew members looked over, sensing tension. She leaned close to Jiho, and he could smell the anger on her. Don't mistake my curiosity for kindness. Don't think you understand me. You're alive because you're useful. Nothing more. She left the mess hall. Jiho sat there, shaking slightly. But he didn't regret the conversation. He had seen the truth in her eyes. She was lying. To him, to her crew, to herself. The next day, Daehyun cornered Jiho in the corridor outside the engine room. You need to stop, the scarred warrior said. No threats. Just a statement. Stop what? Whatever you're doing to the commander, she's changing. The crew sees it. I see it. I'm not doing anything. We just talk. Daehyun moved closer. All four of his arms were tense, ready for violence. I've served Commander Hana for 20 years. I was there when her world died. I was there when she decided to become what she is now. For 20 years, she has been focused, strong. She knew who she was and what she wanted. He pointed at Jiho. Then you arrived. Now she hesitates. She questions. She wastes resources on mercy. Mercy isn't weakness, Jiho said. In this galaxy, it is. The coalition showed my people mercy once. They promised peace. Then they destroyed us when we became inconvenient. Daehyun's voice was bitter. Commander Hana survived because she learned that lesson. You're making her forget it. Maybe she survived for different reasons. Maybe she survived to become something better than her pain. Daehyun stared at him for a long moment. Then he walked away without another word. That night, Jiho couldn't sleep. He wandered the ship, which he was now allowed to do. Most of the crew ignored him. A few nodded. He was no longer seen as just a prisoner. He found himself in the observation deck. It was a small room with a large viewport showing the stars. Hana was there. She didn't acknowledge him when he entered. She just stood there, staring at the endless darkness between stars. Can't sleep? Jiho asked. I don't sleep much. He stood beside her. For a while, they just watched the stars together. Daehyun talked to you, Hana said. It wasn't a question. He's loyal to you. He's worried. He's right to worry. You are making me weak. Or maybe you're just remembering who you were before. Hana turned to look at him. In the dim light, her scales seemed darker. Her eyes reflected the starlight. You want to know who I was? I'll tell you. She took a breath. I was Commander Hana of the Valkoran Defense Fleet. I had a family, a mate named Sojun, 2 children, Unji and Junho. I was proud of my service. I believed in protecting people. Jiho said nothing. He just listened. Then came the Valkoran uprising. Other colonies wanted independence from the coalition. They asked us to join them. We refused. We wanted peace. Her voice was hollow. The coalition didn't believe us. They said we were a threat. They said they needed to make an example. What did they do? They bombarded Valkora Prime from orbit. Military targets first, then infrastructure, then cities. 42 million people died in 3 days. She looked at her hands. I was off-world when it happened, leading a patrol near the border. I received a message from Sojun. He was in our home with our children. The bombing had started. He told me he loved me. Then, the signal ended. Jiho felt tears on his face. I'm so sorry. I tried to go back, my ship and 3 others. But coalition forces stopped us. They said the planet was contaminated. Unsafe. They turned us away. Hana's voice cracked. I never saw their bodies. I never buried them. They're still there, under the ruins of our home. Is that when you became a pirate? That's when I stopped being a fool. I gathered survivors, others who had lost everything. We took a damaged coalition cruiser and made it ours. We became what the galaxy expected us to be. She looked at Jiho. For 20 years, I've made the coalition pay. Ship by ship, station by station. And it's never enough. It never brings them back. No, Jiho agreed. It doesn't. But maybe you could honor them differently. How? By protecting others. The way you protected your people. The way you once believed in. The way you once believed in. Hana laughed, but there was no humor in it. I can't go back. I've killed too many. Done too much. Maybe. But you could go forward. Before Hana could respond, the alarm sounded. Report, Aina, commanded. Taman pulled up the signal. It's a Valkoran transport ship. Under attack by slavers. They're requesting help. Valkoran? Hana moved closer to the screen. How many? Looks like about 300 refugees. The ship is barely armed. The slavers have them surrounded. The bridge fell silent. Everyone waited for Hana's decision. Full speed, she said. Battle formation. Tell all ships to prepare for combat. They arrived in the middle of the battle. The refugee transport was taking heavy damage. Hana's fleet hit the slaver ships like a hammer. It wasn't even close. Comentaria. The battle dong. Within 10 minutes, 2 slaver ships were destroyed. The others fled. Hana ordered boarding parties to the transport to help with repairs. She insisted on joining them. Jiho followed. The transport was crowded and damaged. Refugees filled every space. Many of them injured. They looked at Hana with shock and recognition. An old Valkoran woman approached, leaning on a cane. Her scales were pale with age, but her eyes were sharp. Commander Hana? Is that really you? I am Hana. Who are you? My name is Minji. I fought in the defense fleet 40 years ago. Under your command. The old woman's voice shook. We thought you were dead. I survived. Most didn't. Yes. Minji looked around at the refugees. These are survivors too. From settlements that the coalition abandoned. We've been running for years, looking for somewhere safe. Children huddled near their parents, watching Hana with wide eyes. She knelt down to speak with them at their level. Jiho watched as the feared pirate commander became gentle with these frightened children. Later, as they prepared to escort the transport to a safe system, Minji pulled Jiho aside. You're the human. News travels fast. The crew talks about you. They say you've changed the commander. Made her soft. Minji studied him. I knew Hana before the pain. She was a good person, a hero to our people. The old woman's eyes were sad. What happened to that woman? Oh, I don't know, Jiho said honestly. But maybe she's still in there somewhere. I hope so. The galaxy needs heroes, not more monsters. That night, Jiho found Hana in the observation deck again. She was staring at the refugee transport as it followed them through space. They reminded you, he said softly, of everything I lost. Everything I failed to protect. She paused. Everything I could have been. It's not too late, isn't it? Jiho thought about his answer carefully. My grandmother used to say something. She said a person can change who they are at any moment. The past doesn't own you unless you let it. Hana was quiet for a long time. When she spoke, her voice was so soft he almost didn't hear it. I'm tired, Jiho. It was the first time she had used his name. And in that moment, he knew something had shifted between them. Something important. The refugee transport was safely delivered to the frontier colony of New Valcora, a small settlement where other survivors had gathered. Hana watched from the bridge as families disembarked, as children ran on solid ground for the first time in months. Minji waved goodbye before leaving, and Hana raised one hand in return. "That was good," Jiho said. "What you did. It was one transport. Hundreds of people. Millions more are suffering across the galaxy. So help them." Hana turned to look at him. "What? Help them. Use your fleet, your ships, your crew. Stop attacking the coalition and start protecting the people they abandoned." The bridge fell silent. Every crew member stopped what they were doing to listen. "That's insane," Hana said. "Is it? You have 60 warships, thousands of skilled fighters. You know the frontier better than anyone. There are refugees, settlements, and colonies out here with no protection. The coalition doesn't care about them. Pirates and slavers prey on them constantly. You could change that. The coalition would never allow it. They'd hunt us down. Maybe they would. Or maybe they'd realize you're solving a problem they can't fix. Maybe they'd leave you alone." Jiho stepped closer. "You told me you were tired of being angry. This is how you stop. Not by destroying more, but by protecting something." Daehyun spoke up from his station. His voice was hard. "This is foolishness. The commander has built something powerful. We take what we want. We answer to no one. You want us to become... what? Charity workers? I want you to become who you were meant to be," Jiho said. He looked at Hana. "Who she was meant to be. We've gone too far," Hana said quietly. "The coalition has wanted lists with all our names. Arrest warrants. Then don't ask for forgiveness. Ask for a truce. Offer them something they need. In exchange for being left alone. They need us dead. They need the frontier protected. They need someone to deal with the pirates and raiders they can't reach. They need someone who knows this territory." Jiho could see her, considering it. "You could be that someone. But as an independent force. Not as their servant. Arment. Do their servant." Hana was quiet for a long time. Finally, she spoke. "I'll think about it. That's all I can promise." The conversation ended, but Jiho could see the seed was planted. Over the next week, Hana was quieter than usual. She spent hours in the observation deck. She met with her senior officers behind closed doors. Daehyun became increasingly hostile toward Jiho. Other officers were divided. Some thought the idea had merit. Others believed it was betrayal of everything they'd fought for. Then the coalition found them. They had taken shelter in the Verdun Nebula to make repairs and take on supplies. The nebula's radiation made sensors unreliable, which usually made it safe. But someone had talked. Someone had sold information about their location. 3 full coalition battle groups jumped into the system. Over 90 warships, including 2 heavy carriers and a dreadnought. They brought everything they could spare, Taemin said, studying the sensor readings. They want to end this permanently. Hana stood on the bridge, all 4 arms crossed. She looked calm, but Jiho could see the tension in her shoulders. "Battle formation. Prepare for combat." "Commander," one officer said hesitantly, "we're outnumbered almost 2 to 1. If we fight here, we'll be destroyed. Then we'll die fighting. It's better than running." "No," Jiho said. Everyone turned to look at him. "Don't fight. Talk to them." "Talk?" Daehyun laughed bitterly. "They came here to kill us, human. There's nothing to talk about. Then you'll all die. And every refugee you could have saved will die too. Every settlement you could have protected will burn." Jiho walked up to Hana. "You told me you were tired. Prove it. End this another way. They'll never negotiate. I'm the Reaper of Sirius. They want my head on a spike. Maybe. But you won't know unless you try." Hana stared at him. Then she looked at her bridge crew. At Daehyun, loyal and scarred. At Taemin, young and brilliant. at Heiji and Minho, and dozens of others who had followed her for years. Open a channel to the Coalition fleet. Commander, no. Daehyun started. That's an order. The channel opened. A Coalition admiral appeared on the screen. He was human. Older, with gray hair and tired eyes. His nameplate read, Admiral Kyung-soo. This is Admiral Kyung-soo of the Coalition 4th Fleet. Commander Hana, you are ordered to power down your weapons and prepare to be boarded. Resist, and you will be destroyed. Hana took a breath. Admiral, I want to negotiate. Kyung-soo looked surprised. Negotiate? You've murdered thousands of Coalition personnel. You've stolen enough supplies to feed a planet. You've terrorized this sector for 20 years. There's nothing to negotiate. Then you'll have to destroy me. And my 60 ships will take at least 30 of yours with us before we die. Maybe more. Your crews will pay that price, because you're too proud to listen. The Admiral's expression hardened. I don't make deals with pirates. I'm not asking for a deal. I'm offering you a solution to a problem you can't solve. Hana straightened. The frontier is chaos. Raiders, slavers, and warlords prey on settlements daily. You don't have enough ships to protect them. You barely have enough to defend your core worlds. What's your point? My point is that I can do what you cannot. I know this territory. I know the threats. I have the ships and the crew to protect refugees and settlements. Let me do it. Kyung-soo was quiet for a moment. In exchange for what? Amnesty for my crew. Recognition as an independent peacekeeping force. The Coalition leaves us alone, and we leave you alone. We'll even coordinate with your forces when necessary. That's insane. You expect me to just forgive 20 years of piracy? I expect you to be practical. You can spend resources destroying me, or you can let me solve a problem for you. Your choice. Another voice spoke from off-screen, one of Kyung-soo's officers. Admiral, this could be a trick. She's buying time. I'm not running, Hana said. If I wanted to run, I would have done it already. I'm here because I'm tired of this war. I'm offering you a way to end it, without thousands more deaths. Kyung-soo studied her through the screen. I need to discuss this with my staff, and with Coalition Command. That will take time. I can wait. Power down your weapons. All of them. If you so much as charge a gun, we'll fire. Hana looked at Daehyun. He looked furious but nodded. Power down all weapons. The channel closed. The bridge erupted in arguments. Daehyun was shouting about betrayal. Other officers were demanding answers. Hana silenced them with a gesture. This is my decision. Anyone who disagrees can take a ship and leave. I won't stop you. Nobody left. But the tension was thick enough to cut. 3 hours passed. Jiho spent them in the mess hall, unable to eat. He had pushed for this. If it went wrong, all these people would die because of him. Taemin sat down across from him. You're either a genius or you just killed us all. I know. The commander believes in you. That's saying something. She doesn't trust easily. I don't know if she should trust me. I'm just an engineer who repairs things. This is way beyond fixing a hyperdrive. Maybe that's exactly what she needs. Someone who sees broken things and tries to fix them. Taemin smiled sadly. We're all broken here. Jiho. Every single one of us. We followed the commander because we had nowhere else to go. But maybe you're right. Maybe we could be something better. The comm system crackled to life. All senior officers, to the bridge. Immediately, they ran. The bridge was crowded. Admiral Kyung-soo was on the screen again. Commander Hana, Coalition Command has reviewed your proposal. Against my better judgment, they're willing to discuss terms. Hana's expression didn't change, but Jiho saw her shoulders relax slightly. However, Kyung-soo continued. There are conditions. Hardliners in the fleet want you executed as a war criminal. They won't accept a simple amnesty. You'll need to prove your intentions. How? There's a convoy of civilian ships under attack in the Hadros system. Pirates. 3 ships with refugees. Mostly children. Our nearest force is 6 hours away. If you respond and protect those civilians, we'll consider it a demonstration of good faith. That's across 2 systems from here. We can make it in 3 hours. Then I suggest you hurry. And Commander? My forces will be watching. If this is a trick, if you harm those civilians, or use this as an opportunity to escape, I will hunt you to the edge of the galaxy. Clear? Clear. The channel closed. Hana turned to her crew. You heard the Admiral. Prep for immediate jump. Full speed to Hadros. We have civilians to save. As the crew scrambled to their stations, Daehyun approached Hana. His voice was low enough that only she and Jiho could hear. This is a mistake. This is everything we fought against. No, Hana said. This is everything I forgot I was fighting for. The fleet jumped. Jiho strapped into a station and tried to calm his racing heart. He had started something that couldn't be stopped now. For better or worse, everything was about to change. They reached the Hadros system in 2 hours and 40 minutes. Hana pushed the fleet beyond safe limits. But it worked. They dropped out of hyperspace to find exactly what Admiral Kyung-soo had described. 3 civilian transports surrounded by 6 pirate vessels. The transports were damaged and venting atmosphere. The pirates were closing in for the kill. All ships. Attack formation, Hana commanded. Target the pirate vessels. Do not hit the civilian ships. I want those raiders destroyed or fleeing within 5 minutes. The battle was quick and brutal. Hana's crews had spent 20 years perfecting ship-to-ship combat. The pirates never stood a chance. 2 pirate ships were destroyed in the first minute. 3 more tried to run and were chased down. The last one surrendered. Boarding teams to the civilian transports. Get those people to safety. Medical crews. Prepare for casualties. Jiho went with the boarding team to the largest transport. What he saw inside broke his heart. Families huddled in corridors. Children crying. The ship had been hit multiple times, and the life support was failing. We need to evacuate them, Jiho told Taemin. This ship won't last another hour. They worked fast. Hana's crews moved the refugees to their own ships, treating the injured, providing food and water. Many of the refugees were terrified at first. They had heard stories about the Reaper of Sirius. But when they saw Hana personally helping to carry injured children to safety, their fear turned to confusion, and then gratitude. One little girl, maybe 6 years old, stared up at Hana with wide eyes. Are you a monster? Are you a monster? R. Hana knelt down to the child's level. For a moment, she didn't answer. Then she said softly, I was. But I'm trying to be something different now. The girl thought about this. Then she hugged Hana's leg. Thank you for saving us. Jiho watched Hana's expression change. Something in her eyes that had been hard and cold for 20 years began to soften. When all the refugees were safe, Hana contacted Admiral Kyung-soo. The civilians are secure. 3 transports destroyed beyond repair, but all passengers survived. We're escorting them to the nearest coalition station. Kyung-soo nodded slowly. Acknowledged. Well done, Commander. Coalition Command wants to meet with you to discuss terms. Are you willing? I am. Where and when? Neutral space. Station Meridian in the Antares sector. 3 days from now. You may bring 2 advisors. Agreed. The channel closed. Hana sat back in her command chair and let out a long breath. We did it, Taemin said quietly. We actually did it. But Daehyun stood up from his station. His face was dark with anger. This is betrayal. This is everything we swore we'd never do. Daehyun, Hana started. No, You've let this human poison your mind. We are warriors. We take what we want. We bow to no one. He looked around the bridge. Who's with me? Who remembers what we're really fighting for? Silence. Finally, Minho spoke up. I remember what we were fighting for. Revenge, pain, death. He looked at Hana. But maybe the commander is right. Maybe it's time to fight for something else. We saved children today, Heiji added. When's the last time we did something like that? When's the last time people looked at us with gratitude, instead of fear? Daehyun's expression hardened. Then you're all cowards. Fools. He looked at Hana one last time. I followed you for 20 years, Commander. I would have died for you. But I won't follow you down this path. Then go, Hana said quietly. Take a ship. Take anyone who wants to follow you. I won't stop you. Daehyun left the bridge. Over the next hour, 7 ships left the fleet. 30 officers and crew went with them. Daehyun led them away without another word. Hana watched them go. I hope he finds what he's looking for. No. Will he attack us? Jiho asked. Maybe. Probably. But that's his choice now, not mine. 3 days later, they arrived at Station Meridian. Hana brought Jiho and Taemin as her advisors. The meeting room was full of coalition officers, politicians, and legal experts. Admiral Kyung-soo chaired the discussion. The negotiations took 12 hours. The coalition wanted guarantees. They wanted oversight. They wanted Hana's fleet to register every ship, report all activities, and coordinate with coalition forces. Hana pushed back. She wanted independence. No coalition officers aboard her ships. No interference in how she ran her crews. She agreed to protect civilian targets and avoid coalition military installations. But she refused to become a coalition puppet. Finally, they reached an agreement. Hana's fleet would be recognized as the Valkoran Guard, an independent peacekeeping force operating in the frontier territories. They would coordinate with the coalition when necessary but maintain operational independence. In exchange, all outstanding warrants against Hana and her crew would be suspended, not forgiven, but put on hold as long as they kept to the agreement. One violation, Admiral Kyung-soo warned. One attack on a coalition vessel, one raid on a civilian target, and this deal ends. We'll hunt you down with everything we have. Understood, Hana said. They signed the documents. It was done. As they left the station, Jiho noticed Hana was quiet. He found her later in the observation deck, staring at the stars. You okay? He asked. I don't know. For 20 years, I knew exactly who I was. Now I'm something different. Something I don't have a name for. You're someone who protects people. That's a good thing to be. I killed so many, Jiho. I destroyed so much. One treaty doesn't erase that. No, it doesn't, but it's a start. Every good thing you do from now on is a step forward. He stood beside her. You can't change the past. None of us can. But you can choose what comes next. Hana was quiet for a long time. Then she said, Will you stay? I know I took you prisoner. I know I destroyed your life. But if you want to leave, I'll arrange transport back to Earth. No questions asked. Jiho thought about it. His old life felt like something from another person's memory. The engineer, who had joined the coalition to see the galaxy, seemed young and naive now. I'll stay, he said. Someone needs to keep your hyperdrive running. And besides, I think you're going to need a voice of reason around here. Hana smiled. Actually smiled. Thank you. Over the following months, the Valkoran Guard established themselves in the frontier. They escorted refugee convoys. They hunted pirates and slavers. They protected settlements that the coalition had abandoned. Word spread quickly. The Reaper of Sirius was no longer a name that inspired fear, but one that inspired hope. Jiho worked as a liaison between the Guard and coalition forces. He helped negotiate supply agreements. He taught the crew better maintenance techniques for their human-built equipment. He became a respected member of the crew. One day, they received a message from Minji, the old Valkoran woman from the refugee transport. She had been elected as the mayor of New Valkora. She invited Hana to visit the settlement. They went together, Jiho and Hana. The settlement had grown. More refugees had arrived, seeking safety. They had built homes, farms, and schools. Children played in the streets. It was everything that Valkora Prime might have been if it had been given a chance. Minji greeted them at the settlement's center. "Welcome, Commander. Welcome to the home you made possible." Hana looked around at the thriving community. Jiho could see emotion in her eyes. "This is what we should have been fighting for all along. You're fighting for it now. That's what matters." Minji took Hana's hand in hers. "The old commander, the one I served with. She would be proud of who you've become. I'm proud of you." They stayed for 3 days. Hana visited the schools and talked with children about Valkyrian history and culture. She met with families and listened to their stories. She saw what her protection meant to these people. On their last evening, they stood on a hill overlooking the settlement. The sun was setting, painting the sky in colors that reminded Jiho of Earth. "I wish Sojun could see this," Hana said quietly. "My mate. My children. I wish they could know what came from their deaths." "Maybe they do," Jiho said. "Maybe wherever they are, they're proud of you." "Do you really believe that?" "I believe that you've honored them. Not through revenge, but through protection. Through building instead of destroying." He looked at the settlement below. "This is their legacy. And yours." Hana was quiet for a long time. Then, she said something Jiho had never expected to hear. "I forgive them. The coalition. What they did to my world. To my family. I don't forget. But I forgive." She looked at him. "Because if I don't, I'll never be free of it. And I want to be free." "You are free," Jiho said. "You chose this." They returned to the Times Crimson Talon Asterisk, though Hana had renamed it. It was now the Times Hope's Defiance Asterisk, a name that better reflected what they had become. 6 months after the treaty, Admiral Kyung-soo contacted them. There was a major refugee crisis in the Outer Rim. Thousands of people fleeing a conflict zone. The coalition couldn't spare enough ships to escort them safely. Could the Valkoran Guard help? Hana didn't hesitate. "Send us the coordinates. We'll handle it." The mission took 3 weeks. They escorted 52 refugee ships across hostile territory. They fought off raiders. They provided medical care and supplies. They saved over 10,000 lives. When they returned, there was a message waiting. It was from the Coalition Council, the highest government body in known space. They were officially recognizing the Valkoran Guard as a legitimate peacekeeping organization. They were providing funding for supplies and equipment. They were thanking Hana for her service. The crew celebrated that night. The mess hall was full of laughter and stories. Jiho sat at a table with Taemin, Heiji, and Minho, watching as crew members from a dozen different species shared food and jokes. Hana found him there. "Walk with me." "Walk with me." They went to the observation deck, their usual spot. The stars looked beautiful. "I never thanked you," Hana said. "For what?" "For seeing something in me that I had forgotten existed. For not being afraid to challenge me. For giving me a reason to change." She looked at him. "You gave me back my life, Jiho. The one I thought I lost 40 years ago. You gave me a purpose," Jiho replied. "I thought I was just an engineer. Just someone who fixed broken things. But you showed me that sometimes fixing broken things means fixing broken people. Including myself. Are we fixed now?" Jiho smiled. "I don't think people ever get fully fixed. We're always works in progress. But we're better than we were. And tomorrow will be better than today." Hana nodded slowly. Then she did something she had never done before. She placed one of her 4 hands on Jiho's shoulder. A gesture of respect, of friendship. The galaxy is a dark place, she said. Full of pain and loss. But there's light too. Hope. And people like you, who refuse to give up on others, even when they've given up on themselves. People like us, Jiho corrected. We're in this together now. Yes, together. They stood there for a while, watching the stars. 2 people, from different worlds, who should have been enemies, who became friends, who changed the galaxy just by believing change was possible. Somewhere in the frontier, settlements thrived under the protection of the Valkoran Guard. Refugees found safety. Children grew up without fear. And the name Hana was spoken with respect and gratitude instead of terror. The Reaper of Sirius was gone. In her place stood Commander Hana of the Valkoran Guard. Protector, guardian, hero. And beside her stood Jiho, the human who had reached her when no one else could, who had seen beyond the monster to the person underneath, who had reminded her that it's never too late to become who you were meant to be. The galaxy was still full of darkness. But in the frontier, a light was burning, and it was growing brighter every day.